To begin, let us contextualise Lascaux and Corla. The budget for the Department of Education is around €8 billion. 4/5 of that budget are gone on pay and pensions. That leaves 1/5 of €8 billion for the budget for the Department of Education, and we shouldn't lose sight of that in the context of the debate. And there are many fine contributions, I believe, from all sides of the House in relation to this issue, and I know that some of the opposition, not all but some, have genuinely held views about that, and some of those people have some very good proposals about what should be done, and particularly what shouldn't be done. And that's to be welcomed in the overall debate around the whole issue of education, and bearing in mind the manner in which the Minister has at least one hand tied behind his back. There's been a lot of hyperbole around this issue, Lascaux and Corla, and despite the fact that we all knew full well the extent of the economic crisis in February of last year, there are some, for their own reasons, who choose to ignore that and engage in a debate that by and large is a sham. It doesn't deal with the factual situation. The factual situation is much different to what it could have been if there was a continuance of the political chaos in this country of late 2010 and early 2011. We have stabilised the economy, stabilised public finances. There's been some very good news in recent weeks, not least the result of the European Summit talks last Friday, not least the personal insolvency bill, not least the renegotiation of the EU-IMF bailout agreement. All of those were unimaginable a short few weeks ago and months ago in this country. And not one single detractor has come out to clarify their fundamental misunderstanding and their erroneous predictions about whether or not government could achieve those significant areas where we have seen some improvement in recent times. And I say that in deference to people who are in trouble. But let us concentrate on the task at hand. But let us bear in mind the seriousness and the skill and the devotion and dedication that this government have in relation to this particular area. There are a number of issues that I have with Deputy Flanagan's bill, and I don't, for one second, I don't want to take from his good intentions in this area. But I want to begin with the issue in relation to the UN Convention. Section 2 of the bill seeks to bring the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child into the Education Act. This section is poorly drafted because Ireland has already ratified the UNCRC without reservation and did that as far back as 1992. Now, there's no doubting this government's commitment to children's rights, not least because the referendum on same will be held later this year. Now, given the scope and the relevance of new initiatives underway across a wide variety of government departments, it renders this section of the bill redundant. The appeals process, and we spoke a lot months back in this House in relation to a robust appeals process. And as a result of a slightly increased enrolment thresholds, 73 small schools were due to lose a teacher this September. The Department of Education and Skills gave these schools the opportunity to appeal the decision, and 62 schools decided to appeal. The Primary Staffing Appeals Board assessed the applications and decided to provisionally approve appeals in 41 schools. Now, this means that this December, a total of 32 small schools out of a total of 3,100 primary schools nationwide will lose a teacher as a result of the budget measure. Now, it gives me no satisfaction to say, look, it's only 1%, but we need to put it in context here. It is 1% of the overall number of primary schools. Now, that will cause difficulties, and I have no doubt in some particular cases, but it's a far cry from the decimation of rural Ireland that was predicted in this chamber and outside this chamber around the time of the budget.
It's 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Lascaux and Corla. Another point worth making is the whole issue of minimum capitation payments. Section 4, Lascaux and Corla, ignores the fact that small schools already benefit from significantly enhanced funding arrangement. All schools are provided with a minimum capitation payment based on 60 pupils, and that's regardless of numbers. Now, I think anyone who is sensible in relation to approaching this issue needs to acknowledge that. Now, small schools still incur fixed costs, which is reflected in the arrangement, and this section has no basis on that level in reality. Another statistic, and the final statistic, Lascaux and Corla, for the coming school year, 5 schools have indicated their intention to close. 3 schools did last year, and 4 did the year before. So the idea that government are singling out small schools is a misnomer. And the final point, and the issue I began with here, was in relation to the 4/5 of the Minister's education budget. We must bear in mind that that budget is protecting the jobs and the salaries of people involved in this sector. That's not there to serve the needs of wage militants. And let us focus this debate on what is right for the children. Thank you, Lascaux.